Now, while a lot of lights might look the same, let me tell you now, there's a massive difference between a good set of lights and a bad set of lights. Let's sum this up by giving you a checklist of what to inspect before making a decision on lights. Firstly, inspect the casing. Make sure they're strong, made from the right materials, and don't have thin or poorly designed cooling fins. Inspect the mounts and ensure they are stainless steel and thick enough to handle vibration and tough conditions. Check the Kelvin rating and look to ensure it's close to 5,500 as possible, which is equivalent to daylight. Look for the CISPR 25 Class 3 code. This means the lights won't affect any communication equipment like your UHF or your radio. Make sure they're IP69K rated. The 6 means they are dustproof. The 9K means they are fully waterproof, plus can be high pressure cleaned. Last of all, check the price tag. What you need to be buying is value for money. Just remember, not all cheap lights are bad and not all expensive lights are good. I've run some low price lights before that have been really good, and likewise, lights over $1,000 that have been pretty good. Now, the reflector system is all these cones around each of the LEDs, and what they're designed to do is direct the light in a particular area. Now, if you imagine a driving light without the reflectors, it would be pretty useless as a driving light because all that light is just going to shoot absolutely everywhere and not where you want it. Now, the point of this demonstration is to show you how quality reflectors work. Now, this is a Terralume light, and as you can see, the light is directed right in front in a ball of light, which means that's going to shoot down the road nice and far and super bright as well. Now, if I take that reflector out of this light, watch this, I'll take that reflector out, you'll notice that the light goes basically everywhere. So this reflector here is out of the Terralume light. Now, it's a good quality reflector. We can tell that because the ball of light was so focused and concentrated on the back of the roller door. Now, say you had a cheaper reflector, which a lot of cheaper lights do have, it might only mean like a difference of 1 or 2 degrees in the shape of these reflectors. Now, that 1 or 2 degrees does not sound like much, but when you get that ball of light and throw that 200 or 300 meters down the road, the 2 or 3 degrees might be a heck of a lot. It means your light is dispersed all over the road and you don't get that focus where you need it most. A spotty needs to direct light like a rifle, not like a shotgun. So these reflectors are super important in sending the light exactly where you want it. Poorly designed reflectors allow a lot of light bleed, or essentially wasted light output. You can have the best quality, brightest LED chips, but without a well-designed reflector, it's absolutely pointless. It's like having your four-wheel drive in low range, but the hubs aren't locked. A lot of different spotlights have Cree chips, from cheap to expensive, but what you probably don't know is that there's a heap of different grades of Cree chips. When they are made, they come out in a big board with a heap of little chips on them. In the process of being made, the ones in the middle of the board end up being much higher quality than the ones on the outside of the board. All are Cree chips, but they vary in brightness, light colour and longevity. A lot of the very top quality ones are used in medical equipment for operations and the like. Some lights, like the Terralume, use high-end ones, where some light companies will use ones from outside of the board which are lower grade, as a way to save money on the cost of the lights. The difference you can see as a user is a different Kelvin rating, which in English is colour temperature of light. A low Kelvin rating is yellow and golden. Like the old headlight from a 60 series, it would have a really low Kelvin rating. This low rating isn't bright enough and you won't see far enough down the road. Some lights out there have a Kelvin rating of nearly 10,000 at the top end, which gives you almost a blue light. This is extremely bright, but as soon as you get over 6,000 Kelvin, it's too bright for your eyes, and you'll be straining them and getting tired without you knowing. You want a light that's in the middle. The Kelvin rating on the Terralume is 5,500, which is very close to the equivalent of daylight, which is the most natural light for your eyes. Notice how you can still see the colours of the road and the trees. It's not washed out. That's one way to pick a quality light. Have you ever been driving at night and you've actually had to turn your spotties off because you've come across a bit of rain, maybe a bit of dust or even fog, and what happens is the spotlight actually reflects back and you can't see very well. Now, that's normally caused because the LED chip inside your light is quite cheap and has a very high Kelvin output. Now, you don't want a high Kelvin output when you've got a driving light, because what actually happens is when your spotlight actually hits that fog, rain or snow, it's actually reflecting off it instead of penetrating through like a good quality light would do. The number one thing that'll kill a driving light is heat. Now you can have the best reflectors and LED technology within inside that light, but unless you've got the right casing on the light to dissipate the heat, that light will fail. It's a bit like having an engine, putting a heap of power upgrades on it and not upgrading your cooling system. When a driving light gets too hot, firstly, it'll back the power input right back, some by over 50 to 60%, meaning they're not putting out anywhere near the same amount of light. Like a lot of things, when the conditions are good and say you're doing 80 k's an hour like I am right now down a dirt road, there's going to be naturally a lot of airflow across those lights, which will cool them down, there's no doubt about it. But when the conditions are tough, so say you're low range forward driving, you might be on a beach at night, or maybe you've just come to a complete stop, well, there's not much airflow and those lights are going to get seriously hot. What you want to see in a light is plenty of big black fins on the back like this on the TerraLume Icon, which has one of the best casings for cooling you can find. Lights without a quality casing like this can get up to 80 or 90 degrees under the same conditions. Right, I've had the vehicle on for about 20 minutes. Now the spotties have been left turned on. I've also put an old sheet over the top here to try and cover the back of these fins. Now the whole test here is to see how hot I can get the TerraLumes, because keep in mind that heat kills lights, as simple as that. Now, a lot of lights will get up to about the 80, 90, even 100 degrees Celsius. I've actually seen it with my own eyes. I've got a temperature gun here. These have been going for 20 minutes, and I've tried to make them the hottest they can possibly get. Now, if I take the reading from the back of the fins here, right in between the gaps, it's the hottest. We've got 48.5 degrees. Now, that's pretty good considering that these have been covered up with a sheet, so there's been no airflow, no nothing going across them. The engine's been turned on just to keep that battery topped up because I've had the lights running for 20 minutes, and 48.5. There are a lot of things you need to be on the lookout for when buying lights to make sure you don't end up disappointed. One huge nuisance you might not know about with some cheaper quality lights is that they have the potential to interfere with your radio or your HF. Not all sets will do this, but if you're unlucky enough to get a set that does, there's not much you can do about it other than turn the footy off at night when your spotties are on. One of the only ways to make sure you're buying the lights that won't cause much radio interference is to get one that has passed the CISPR 25 Class 3 code, meaning it's been built with proper automotive components that won't interfere with any electronics in your four-wheel drive, like these ones. The other key to the casing and externals of the light is strength and how dustproof and waterproof they are. Most lights claim at least an IP68 dustproof and waterproof rating. To go a step further, the TerraLumes are actually IP69K rated, the highest possible. The 9K means they aren't just submersible, they can be washed with high pressure cleaners. IP69K is the highest water protection rating you can get, and you have to pass a lot of tests to get it. Take a look at the quality of the seals on the icons. They are made from a better quality rubber and won't dry out and become brittle over time with heat and UV exposure. This little thing here is a breather. It's a patented breather design that adheres to the IP69K certification. A breather is designed to maintain a stable pressure in your light so water doesn't leak in, like a diff breather on your four-wheel drive diff. Mounts are such an important part of the light because they're often one of the first parts to fail. Firstly, you don't want them to vibrate or break with impacts or corrugations. TerraLume use 5mm stainless, which is as tough as nails and won't rust or vibrate, which is exactly what you want. Also, there's small details to look for on how the light is attached to the mount. You need something like this, nylock nuts that won't ever rattle loose. I've seen countless sets of cheap lights up in the Cape and Kimberley that have rattled loose because the mounts aren't built to handle the tough conditions. Over the last 10 years or so, I've probably owned over 20 different sets of lights from all the major brands, and some of the brands you might never have heard of before. And what strikes me about these TerraLumes here after a fair bit of testing is, number one, they're a good value for money light, which I think is really, really important. And number two, they perform so well. So in my opinion, when you're after a set of lights, make sure you invest just that little bit more to get a good quality set of lights that's going to last and also perform. TerraLume Industries are one of the leaders in LED technology in the world. These are ultra high performance, and you have to see them with your own eyes to see how good they really are. Best of all, you can get them delivered to your door with a harness and everything you need to fit them with free shipping. The next 25 orders will get a free anti-theft bolt kit and a rock light that you can use as a camp light. All up over $78 worth of value. Head to TerralumeIndustries.com to get a set on your 4-wheel drive.